how to change the sensor PCB in the Jacto PB-25 battery-powered shears. Note: we recommend carrying out the process on a flat surface, such as a work table. Attention! The replacement must always be carried out with the shears disconnected from the battery. Note: to replace the sensor board, use the keys that come with the shears. To start replacing the sensor board, first remove the two screws securing the rack cover and remove it. Remove the screw securing the nut lock. Remove the nut lock. Remove the nut from the main shaft. Remove the main shaft. Remove the rack and the blade. Remove the fairing screws. Remove the fairing. Disconnect the sensor PCB harness from the main PCI. Remove the screw with the Phillips screwdriver that secures the sensor PCB to the chassis. Remove the defective sensor PCB. Place the new sensor PCB in the chassis, fitting in the correct position. Plug the sensor cable back into the main PCI. Position the harness under the chassis in the same position as before. Note: observe the small circular hole near the center of the PCB for correct assembly. Return the screw securing the sensor PCB. Note: visually check the position of the trigger sensor. It must be positioned at 90-degree angle to the surface of the board. Note: be careful not to pinch the cables during the fairing assembly process. Mount the fairing in place. Place the fixing screws in the fairing. Mount the blade on the rack. Apply approximately 2 grams of calcium-based grease between the teeth of the rack and pinion. Install the rack with the blade in the identified place. Fit the main shaft. Apply approximately 1 gram of calcium-based grease through the plug hole. Fit the main shaft nut and nut lock and secure them with the screw. Close the rack cover. Secure the 2 fixing screws. Note: when attaching the main shaft nut, be careful not to cause excessive friction between the parts. After changing the sensor PCB, calibrate the shears trigger and rack. The following items are required for calibration: USB serial converter with harness, termite software, driver for USB serial converter CH340. Before starting the calibration procedure, make sure these are installed on the computer. Termite software, CH340 driver. Note: for the correct installation of the CH340 driver, the USB serial converter with harness must be plugged into the computer. Note: all the software are free and available for download. If you need to install the software or driver, please contact Jacto through the official channels. To carry out the calibration, it is necessary to configure the serial transmission options properly. Following these steps, open the termite software and select the settings option. Next, click on the port option, choose the COM13 option. In the baud rate option, choose the 9600 option or type in this value. In the data bits option, select the number 8. In the stop bits option, select the number 1. In the parity option, select none. In the flow control option, select none. Finally, in the forward option, select none. Note: this configuration only needs to be carried out the first time the software is installed. After configuring the termite software, connect the USB serial connection harness to the adapter on the Jacto PB-25. Turn the shears on by pressing the power button. After this process, the display will identify the data reading mode. In the termite software, type the letter C into the input box and press the Enter key on the keyboard. After this process, turn off the shears. Remove the USB serial connection harness. Connect the adapter to the shears and feed the battery into the holder. To calibrate, follow these steps. Turn on the shears and the display will show the calibration indicator. Squeeze the trigger and hold it down. With the trigger pressed, press the power button once. After pressing the button, release the trigger and press the power button again. Repeat this process until the calibration reaches 100%. Plug the adapter into the shears and feed the battery into the holder. Turn the shears on and wait for the start screen to appear. Press the power button 3 times. A short beep will sound with each movement. The shears will turn off automatically and enable the calibration process. Turn on the shears. The display will show the calibration indicator. Before starting calibration, press and release the trigger once. After this procedure, press and hold down the trigger. Keep the trigger pressed until the blade has passed through each of the 3 openings twice. The process will end when the blade is completely closed, followed by the automatic shut-off of the shears. Note, the automatic opening and closing movement of the blade will only take place as long as the trigger is held down. If the trigger is released during calibration, the process will be interrupted. Once calibration has started, the shears will only return to normal operation once the calibration process has finished.